From Studio Number 4, Seattle, Washington, USA, this is a Space Dog Radio Show. I'm the Space Dog. Thank you for tuning in. Space Dog Radio is your remote location radio station. Coming to you 24/7 around the planet and throughout the universe from SpaceDogRadio.com. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Twitter at Space Dog Radio. Well, as you know, we've done tons of stories on a wide variety of topics, including music, humor, and news. This is going to be a mashup of news stories we did for you in 2014. And granted, it's not the most pleasant thing in the world. As a matter of fact, this is my least favorite show I'm going to be doing. But we try to bring you news in some type of Space Dog Radio form where you can not only hear it, think about it, but also enjoy it and learn from it. And that's the main thing. Space Dog Radio is proud to present this year's mashup of 2014 news stories.
From someplace over Fargo, North Dakota, USA, this is the Space Dog Radio Show. We're going to talk about one of my least favorite topics, oil spills. That's right, just had another one. Over in North Dakota, 2,000 North Dakota residents had to flee fumes from a fire that engulfed a BNSF railway car carrying oil that collided on December 30th. They're about 25 miles west of Fargo. And I got to tell you, it was not warm in Fargo that time of year. So to have all those residents trying to get out of the way of those deadly fumes, it was pretty tricky. From someplace over Boston, Massachusetts, USA, Elizabeth Warren is an outstanding lawmaker out of Boston, Massachusetts. And she's brought up a really good point on so many levels, whether it's fair pay and or a credit rating system, as far as people look at your credit rating and determine whether you should be hired or not. She's fighting this. And, there's a lot of revolt going on in the workplace right now, and this is just part of it. She said, quote, "A bad credit rating is far more often the result of unexpected medical costs, unemployment, economic downturns, or other bad breaks. That is a reflection," Senator Warren said, quote, "families have not fully recovered from the 2008 financial crisis, and too many Americans are still searching for jobs." From someplace over Charleston, West Virginia, USA, this is a Space Dog Radio Show. Well, just when I got done talking about a massive oil train incident, here I am talking about yet more damage humans have inflicted upon themselves and the planet using fossil fuels. 5 days ago in Charleston, West Virginia, a chemical spill on the Elk River caused over 300,000 residents to lose their water supply. Residents have been advised to use tap water only for flushing the toilet or fighting fires. The partial ban has just been lifted, but many are still in severe discomfort. This means no laundry, no making food, no washing, nothing, until the chemical spill has been cleaned up somehow. Schools and businesses have been closed. The President of the United States issued a federal emergency declaration for the state, and the governor of West Virginia, Earl Ray Tomblin, has declared a state of emergency in 9 counties. From someplace over the wet, soggy, and dark Pacific Northwest, USA, this is the Space Dog Radio Show. I'm the Space Dog. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're joined with our news contributor, Mark Taylor Canfield. Mark, what do you have for us from News from Under the Radar?
Well, 2 days ago, I attended the inauguration of the new mayor of Seattle, Ed Murray, who is apparently Seattle's first openly gay mayor and was actually sworn in by his husband.
February 2014.
From someplace over Kiev, Ukraine, this is a Space Dog Radio Show. Well, we do have listeners in Kiev, Ukraine, and actually all around Ukraine. And there's been a lot happening there in the last few months. Obviously, in November, huge crowds protested against how the government was leaning away from closer ties with the European Union and back to Russian-led government alignments. At times, protesters numbered over 100,000 and remained peaceful. But As the government clamped down with new regulations, by mid-January, protests became violent, injuring many and killing 3 so far. The government has since backed off those regulations, but violent undertones from protests continue. The violence is largely being brought on by radical activists, which may further undermine the point of the initial protests. There's the radical group Prave Sector, or Right Sector, along with Splina Sprava, which means common cause, both of which seem to refuse to cooperate with the main opposition movement. Speaking at the International Security Conference in Munich, Germany, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov lashed out at the West for allegedly inciting increased violent protests. From someplace over Bangkok, Thailand, this is the Space Dog Radio Show. I'm the Space Dog. Thanks for tuning in. Well, there's been 3 months now of political turmoil in Thailand, and it has taken its toll on Thai stocks. That's right. $3 billion from Thai stocks have been withdrawn since October 31st, exchange data is showing. And they put $190 million into Indonesian shares in 2014 after the Jakarta Composite Index fell 3.9% in 2 days.
March 2014.
You're laying in your bed, it's nice and quiet, and all of a sudden you feel a rumble, like a heavy truck going by, except for there's no trucks within miles of your home. The ground starts to move slightly. Alarmed, you get up to see what's going on, only to have the floor of the house swept from underneath you. You fall to the ground. Trees start crashing through the windows. Mud seeps all across your floor, headed right to you, and the door is closed. This scenario repeated over and over again recently in a mudslide in Oso, Washington. From someplace over Tampa Bay, Florida, USA, this is a Space Dog Radio Show. Well, here we go again in Florida. Tampa Bay Times was doing a review of over 200 cases involved with stand your ground law and found what Huffington Post called, quote, uneven application and, quote, shocking outcomes, end of quote.
April 2014.
From someplace over Washington, D.C., USA, this is a Space Dog Radio Show. There's a new awareness coming up about the TPP. That is the Trans-Pacific Partnership. If you don't know about this, you've probably been living in a cave or under a rock. But this is one of the most detrimental agreements that is in work by our government, which is so just elusive and so secret. No one really knows anything about it except for it's totally NAFTA on steroids. I've said it a million times on Space Talk Radio. We did a show about it last year. We did a show about it the first part of this year, and we're doing a show about it now because it's very important. There's something that was just published on an excellent website, and I'll put a link on spacetalkradio.com, from tradewatch.org. And the title of this is, quote, the rising use of trade pact sales pitch of last resort. TPP, foreign policy's argument, mimic false claims made for past deals.
May 2014.
Hold the phones. Hold the phones. Marco Rubio, not the sharpest tool in the shed. He says, quote, I don't believe humans are causing climate change. End of quote. Really?
July 2014.
From someplace over the Great Barrier Reef in Queensland, Australia, this is a Space Dog Radio Show. I'm the Space Dog, along with Quixotic. Say hello, Quixotic. Yeah, they're doing a project over there, and 3 million cubic meters of spoil will be dumped in the waters along the reef for the expansion of Abbott Point. Now, I've never been to Abbott Point, but I can tell you, dumping a whole bunch of dirt onto the Great Barrier Reef, the only one of its type in the world, is not a good thing. The North Queensland Conservation Council has obtained Freedom of Information documents that say the dredged spoil could travel further than anticipated, which would affect the coral. So, now we're sitting here looking at North Queensland
Ports Corporation modeling provided, which said that they're going to dump 370,000 cubic meters of dredge spoil as part of a project to expand the Hay Point coal port south of Mackay in central Queensland. Quote, the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority follows a transparent and blah, blah, blah. You know, look, we could go through the same thing up in Bellingham if they want to make a big port up there for coal trains.
September 2014.
From someplace over Glasgow, Scotland, this is the Space Dog Radio Show. It's just a few hours before Scotland decides whether they want to become an independent nation from the UK. I've been watching this very closely. There was the Arab Spring, there was Libya, there was Egypt. Hong Kong now is going through their fight with China to stay independent and have some type of democracy. Now we see Scotland fighting for independence, and there's so much involved with this. Good luck to those in Scotland, whether you're a yes, no, or no vote. We would like to hear from you. From someplace over Hong Kong, this is the Space Dog Radio Show. August of this year, China denies Hong Kong voters to directly nominate candidates for the 2017 election of the city's new chief executive. China's National Congress Standing Committee decided that the candidates for the 2017 Hong Kong elections would be approved by a, quote, broadly representative, end of quote, committee. Well, it was just a matter of time before China clamped down on democracy in Hong Kong and protests began. Protesters said that by voting by, quote, committee, end of quote, it would mean the Chinese would bring in their own political puppets to run things and democracy would be ended. The Chinese officials ignored protesters. And here we are about a month later, and the protesters have grown so much, the banks have had to stop business because there are so many people in the streets, they can't do business. Hong Kong is shut down because the Occupy movement made it happen for democracy.
November 2014.
From someplace over the beautiful Pacific Northwest, this is the Space Dog Radio Show. I'm the Space Dog, along with Mark Taylor Canfield, who's been amidst many protests tonight in Seattle from the Ferguson grand jury announcement. We're going to go right to Mark Taylor Canfield. Mark, thanks for being on Space Dog Radio.
Hey, Space Dogs, this is Mark Taylor Canfield reporting from live in Seattle on Capitol Hill, where there was a demonstration a little while ago at Seattle Central Community College in solidarity with folks across the country who are protesting the grand jury announcement in Ferguson, in which the police officer is not going to be charged with any crime. People gathered at Westlake Park in downtown Seattle, site of the famous or infamous, depending on who you talk to, Occupy Seattle encampment, that location, and they took over the park. People gathered and heard the announcement from Ferguson, and then folks took to the streets to protest the announcement. Some folks ended up lying down in the streets down by 4th Avenue. Police actually blocked a lot of the traffic in the area even before people were lying in the streets. And then folks decided that they are going to march tonight, so they headed up to Capitol Hill from downtown.
So just following up with Mark Taylor Canfield now down at Pike Street. Mark, can you tell us what's going on right now?
We are witnessing a confrontation between police and protesters at 12th and Pike on Capitol Hill, which is approximately 1 block, or actually more like a half a block away from the East Precinct, which is tends to be a focus for a lot of protests in Seattle, especially against police brutality. So the police have had the area in front of the East Precinct blocked off for many hours since the protest began earlier tonight. They just parked police cars sideways in the street and then blocked off the sidewalks with barricades. But right around the corner, there is a sizable crowd of people who have taken to the street. They're blocking the intersections at 12th and Pike. And then the police said on the north end of that intersection on 12th Avenue.
Be safe out there, and I'll be standing by in case any breaking events occur.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. This is Mark Taylor Canfield reporting from a confrontation between police and protesters demonstrating against police brutality on the announcement of the grand jury and findings in Ferguson. So, Mark Taylor Canfield, over and out. Space Dog.
All right. We'll catch you next orbit.
This has been a mashup of the Space Dog Radio news broadcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. Be safe, be happy, and I'll catch you next orbit.